Hello and welcome to another episode of Sisters on the Weekend. She is Lil Sis.
And she is Big Sis.
And we are back with another episode.
Okay, guys, today's episode is community love. So we'll just be
Community love. Ooh,
Yes.
That sounds interesting.
we'll be talking about, how we operate as a community and how love is given and reciprocated. But before we start this episode, make sure that you like, repost, and share our content. It really helps. And Big Sis, do you want to kick it off?
When I think about community love, I think about a shared sense of togetherness and like camaraderie, and I can't use the word community to define
Unity.
community.
I would say unity.
Unity, yes. The idea or the feeling of being on the same page, of being supportive and being supported. And then you know what? I think community love also has something to do with seeing yourself in others and others seeing themselves in you. So like you guys kind of reflect each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like identity wise.
Yeah, no, that was
Somewhere
a really
along the
good
lines.
point. I didn't think.
I mean, it could be across
definitely.
different points. But it's more than just looking, having, similar appearance. It's something in your heart and soul that connects you as a community, and then the love part comes into wanting the best for others. So that's what I think about when I hear community love. How about you?
I would say the same thing. I definitely feel like whatever you would consider your community, and sometimes those are just we build our community based on who we feel is family, friends. So some aspects we get to decide, but then in other aspects I feel like our community is just based on shared experiences or where we are in our life. So it could be location, job, school, whatever, stuff like that. So sometimes you don't really have a choice in the community that you choose, but there should still be some sense of love and respect there. Yeah, but I guess, but for the most part, people consider community people that you choose to be in your life. But sometimes you don't get to choose.
I see what you're saying. So it's like two types of community.
Yeah.
It's like community that is created by necessity or just happenstance. And then the community that you gravitate towards naturally because of, I guess, like shared experiences and stuff like that.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a preference over? I feel like I do.
For me, I do feel like I would prefer to choose, but sometimes when I don't choose, it's kind of better than the community that I chose in myself.
No, you're right. I
So
didn't even think
it
about
really
that.
just depends.
No, that's so deep. That's profound. Can you look? Can you unpack that?
Sometimes I guess I don't choose what I would. Okay, so most of the time for my communities that I quote unquote choose, it's because of the appearance for me. I usually choose to be around people that look like me, that kind of sounds like me, or may have the same experience as me, or they're in places that I like. So if I see them, it's basically, I try to choose somebody that is close or similar to myself. How about
When
that?
you say look like me, you're talking about
Physical appearance.
You're talking about race.
Yeah.
Let's get straight to the point with some of this stuff. Yo, this is Black History Month. We're going to keep it 100. Okay, so you're
Yeah.
talking about race. Okay.
Yes.
I
I'm
mean, and
talking
that makes
about
sense because
race.
then all the other shared experiences fall under. A lot of them do.
Yeah, I feel like, when you see other people that look like you gravitate towards them. In some aspects, social aspects, I feel like there's some self segregation going on where you'll literally see the different races. You'll look across the room and you'll see people gathering based on their race.
Speaking of, I remember I had an experience. Me and some of my classmates in law school had an experience where we were loosely referred to as a wolf pack, and like yeah, it was pretty. We had to have a conversation with the professor about it.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
inappropriate.
thought about
Like,
it's not funny, yo. It's really not funny. It's not. This is serious. But I thought about it because naturally we gravitated towards each other because it's a comfort zone. It's a community.
right?
But you should never be called
Yeah,
a
wolf
wolf
pack.
pack
Yeah.
or
Yeah, historically, you should never be described as animals. That just should be off the
period.
rip. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's also awkward to not awkward. It's inappropriate, disrespectful, and demeaning
Yeah,
to refer
animalistic.
to a minority group in a public setting in reference to them being a community.
Yeah. And then psychologically, like you actually trying to divide us because you're calling us a wolf pack. Now we're like, whoa, should we not be hanging out together? Should we be trying to hang out with different groups? Like,
we all, and it was the community felt in that it was wrong. We didn't have to negotiate or convince anybody in the group. So we all felt that and had that same experience, and we all came together and approached the situation and confronted the situation. So,
which was
just
good that y'all was working as a community because
just to loop it back together, one of the good things about community and community love is that you can move as a unit as well. So, you have a united experience, you have a united response. So, I wish I wasn't laughing at that. Just let me be clear, it's not funny at all. It's just,
it's
I couldn't
like
believe
crazy.
that it happened.
Yeah, it's like
It's outrageous.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
But yeah, it's safe to
Moving
say
right
I
along.
definitely connect with people that I just gravitate towards them. But I would definitely say there's aspects where people that don't look like me or people that I don't choose to be around could potentially help me or help me in any way possible. So.
Right. I think. Are you talking about diversity of community now?
Yeah, so I was basically saying, like, sometimes I don't choose, like, sometimes the community that I chosen isn't always the best for me.
You're right.
Or they don't do as, they can't propel me as far as.
I think if we think about it, I think pretty much all of us are a part of different communities. And so we've already kind of, talked about, like, the communities we choose versus the communities that happen. And some of those communities that just happen, you may have a stronger bond, or you may get more from it than you originally expected. But I think back on my life, I think I'm part of like 5 or 6 communities. When I think about my faith, I think about my profession, I think about friends that I've gained along the way through like school, and then friends I've gained along the way through work, family. That's about 5 right there, right?
People also consider their neighborhood to be a community.
Oh yeah, how did I miss that?
Yeah.
How about you? Have you thought about the different communities you belong to?
I'm recording. Yeah. Um, what communities? I would say based on like no, I really haven't thought about this question obviously. The exaggerated pause. Um I would say like my education aspect, I've been a part of different communities, then also like within that different like clubs, organizations that you do, different programs that you do, internships, all of that stuff, because now a lot of corporations and even schools, they're dividing everything into a program or like a different division to like continue to like separate you. So when you're at work, you got an affinity group that you can be a part of if you want to be. Well, when you're at work, you have the division that you're working in, then you have like a subdivision under that. Then you might have your team. Then you have affinity groups that you can be a part of. But if you're at a organization or whatever, you might be in that organization as a certain position. So then you're part of that group too. So it's just like there's definitely like multiple communities, and I feel like a community can be like like 2 to 3 people can make a community. It doesn't have to be large and widespread as people may think. So I'm
Yeah,
definitely a
you're.
part of so many if I think about it and like
Mm-hmm.
break
If
it
you think
down.
about
Yeah.
it, yeah, I think that's true. And then just even your explanation makes me think of like sub communities and micro communities. Like that thought. In general, when I think about communities, I think about like a large group. In my mind, I'm thinking like 30 to
Right.
50 people
Yeah.
or something. But when you said it, it's true. Like it could be 3 people, it could be 5 people. And I thought about church as well. Like they have groups and different
Mhm.
communities, like the women's group or the youth group,
Right.
and the so on and so forth. And I think the whole point of even creating these groups is to try to foster
Mhm.
community. And then the more you have in common with people and the more shared life experiences, I think that's what really like bonds people together, and then it creates that community love. So,
Yeah.
um, unfortunately too, I think like traumatic experiences or difficult experiences, I don't know if it's unfortunate per se,
Mhm.
but like grad school or even undergrad or high school,
Right.
like whatever, something that's like a challenge, I think it really bonds together a community. That's why I don't know the actual psychology or the science behind it, but if you think about it, a lot of companies, they'll do like team building activities, and it
Mhm.
may be like a challenging thing or some sort of like problem solving activity for the purpose of like, you guys being creative together or solving a problem together or overcoming
Mhm.
a challenge together, even if it's not like a real world problem. It's just like a created circumstance, but still I think it's some well, not some, a lot of value there. So that's my thought.
I agree.
I'm
So
trying to
now
think.
since we like talked about community, we can talk about like more of like the love aspect. I think in a lot of different communities, there definitely should be more love um, within those communities. Um, and and also within a lot of communities, I feel like there is love and there is respect there and there is trust there, but amongst very few people, it isn't widespread. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that is one of the biggest issues because you may experience those things from one person or maybe 2 people, but then the rest of the community you don't feel or experience that. It just sucks in that aspect because, like, we're all supposed to be together. So why is there this jealousy? Why is it this hatred? Why is it all of these other things bleeding into this community?
Yeah, um that makes me think about like one bad apple can spoil the bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that we're all humans. We all have our own personalities, our own set of experiences, and I think some people may bring some things into community that is not necessarily helpful to the larger group. And I think that's just part of life. I really do. I don't mean to like dismiss it or downplay it because it can be hurtful, traumatic. It can spiral into a lot of different directions, but I think it's you're taking the good with the bad.
Mm-hmm. But maybe the
To a certain
leadership should
extent.
also like try to control some of that. I've been in aspects where it seems like leadership or the person that is so should be doing something isn't doing anything to like resolve or help with
Yeah, I
some of that.
think it's important for a community to have leadership. Some communities may not necessarily have a designated leader though.
Yeah.
Like all friend groups don't have like,
Right.
well, honestly, if I be completely honest, there's always a leader. It could be more than one. But I think it's always like a person. Now that I think about my life experience, I think it's always like a person that generally the group, a person or few that the group defers to for decision making or guidance or
I would say so. So it's not
tiebreaker.
like, and some of those positions are self-proclaimed, just
Mm-hmm.
because people are just trying to, keep the peace.
Facts. So like even you think about like a friend group,
Yeah.
people say like, "Oh, she's the mom
Oh
of the group."
yeah. Or people are like, or some people just consider the leader the one that always like organizing stuff, or like, oh hey, we should
Mm-hmm.
go here, and then people just like okay type thing. So yeah, you're right, but it's just so interesting in like a lot of those aspects because I'm like, or stuff might start out with love and then it doesn't end that way, and I'm just like, why is this so? Like, we have built this community, so there has to be common interest, like or whatever there, and then now it's like flipped and all over the place.
For me, I think an answer to that is just people are constantly growing, evolving, or they should be, you know. And people are picking up experiences, putting down experiences, or, you know, you're moving, you're growing. So I think people change. And so some people cycle into communities and cycle out.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I think. Can we talk about like professional community here? We kind of did. We talked about corporate. Something came to mind like professional organizations. Like you know how you can have like a professional sorority or fraternity or a professional group that has whatever the purpose is,
I
that
would
has a
definitely
mission
say like
statement.
most of them are like affinity groups, and then the other ones would probably be like non-profit, like they identify as non-profits, but then they act as as groups slash organizations, similar to how those would act in I would say collegiate settings, but they just identify as a non-profit, I guess, to get that whatever tax whatever business.
What do you think of that sort of community that is not based on
So one that you chose again.
yeah, you created, like you literally chose. But what else? Oh yeah, but you didn't choose because of
Every member, like every person that's a part of it, you didn't choose all of them, but you chose to be in it because of
under
the
the
mission
umbrella
statement.
because of the mission.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like those ones are interesting, especially when I feel like most groups. Yeah, I don't want to be. Yeah, I don't want to say that, but all genders act differently. How about that? So it's just interesting being a female, being in some of these settings, because I feel like there is some some cattiness and stuff that may be involved in some of these things, and it honestly outshadows the mission.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody decided to be here for a reason that on paper appears to be positive. Mm-hmm. Whether we're actually reaching that mission and doing all the things that is on paper, mm-hmm. that is another thing. But on paper, this looks good. But then outside of that, you have to deal with, you know, the works and the personalities and the this and that of the group. And in those ones, I just be like, but as long as you find a friend in there, it kind of helps with dealing with some of that. But I've experienced that with every, like, organization, club, or whatever I try to do. I'm just like, why is it always like this? Like, again, this is
and what are you saying it's like it's contentious? Like, how would you describe your experiences with some of these professional groups, like women-led or professional groups?
So most of the groups that I have, like, been a part of is, like, women-led, because mm-hmm. I identify, like, that's the community that I identify with, and I'm, try to build, like, sisterhoods and different connections with people. Also, I am in like, the STEM field, so I would like to connect with more women. In the professional setting ones that I've had, they've been very diverse, and mm-hmm. it honestly has been a little bit more professional. I mm-hmm. haven't really seen, like, much cattiness, but in those environments, people do not share that much, so it's kind of hard to build community. Like, we're a community because we are, but it's not, like, more on a personal level. People definitely keep it professional for the most part.
So interesting you even introduced that into the conversation, because that's what I wanted to say. And I was saying some of the challenges that we may face in these professional organizations that are not required, like, is truly an elective, mm-hmm. like, you're volunteering yourself to be a part of it, mm-hmm. Is that you have to be professional in unprofessional settings.
Right.
And when I say unprofessional, I mean, like, non-professional. And when I say that, I mean, like, you're not at work.
Right.
Now, you can be professional while not being at work, but it's like you have on that coat of professionalism.
Yeah, you're acting as if you're still at work.
In your free time.
For sure.
On a Saturday or a Friday night, which is not all bad, but I think that's where it's that distance mm-hmm. in the community, because, what if I make a bad joke and I'm perceived wrong? Or what if I tell about a personal experience and then I'm judged? So I think that's where that tension may come from, or like that
fear. That's what it basically
fear.
Is. Yeah. People are judging each other based on the next person. There's a lot of fear in the room. Also, it's literally like where people are trying to climb ladders in different positions that they can be in so that they can put on their resume / network, this and that, versus in a lot of professional aspects, again, like I said, I'm in STEM. Nobody will ever talk about what it's like to be a woman in STEM. Mm-hmm. They just won't. But it's like that is the biggest thing.
Too authentic.
Yeah, that is
it's too authentic. Mm-hmm.
That is, like, the biggest, like, thing that should be talked about. Like,
I mean, I experienced that as well. Where it's like there's this desire to be open and honest and to share your experience. I'm saying, like, other people in leadership, mm-hmm. but then it's like it's only but so far you can go, because
right, you don't want to.
They may be judged, or you don't want to be blackballed, or you don't want the word to get back to somebody that you do business with, or you don't want to. And I get that as well, especially today. Like, I'm pretty sure it's different than the past, but I've only been to conferences during this current social media age, and, where things are recorded and reposted and all of that. So it does get to a point where it's like, how open and honest or candid can I be and still not expose myself to, professional I don't know, damage,
Yeah, because for the most part,
career
these are people.
damage,
I was about to say,
reputational damage.
I was literally about to say that for the most part, this is people's career. This is their livelihood. Like, a job and career is two different things, but people rarely talk about. This is people's career. This is what they want to stick with, want to continue to do. So once you get blackballed from that, I don't even know how you can start over. Like, it's hard to. You can always start over with anything, but it's hard with age and
And
this and
these
that.
communities are not large, especially when you start to drill down on like your certain state, or if you go down to the level of your certain city, and then if you go down to, okay, we're talking about all women, and or if you start talking about black women in particular, and you start to really drill down into these smaller communities, right? And so I think professional communities in general still require a cloak of secrecy, as far as like, or privacy in what you share. Like, you can't really do too much,
Right.
because it can cause more harm. So in helping others and trying to create community, there'll always be that barrier there.
I definitely agree.
And so, with that being said, some people approach professional communities just from like, what can I get? Who can I know? And who can I work with? Or what business can I bring in? And that's the beginning of the day, and that's the end of the day. And that's it. And
Most
maybe that's the
people
way.
approach community like that in general.
I don't though. I usually
know, but I
approach
said most
community
people,
like,
not you.
exactly.
Most people do. They're like, oh, who can I be quote unquote friends with, or who can I do this?
What
so
can
that
I get from this situation? And it's turned into, I guess, then a transactional thing, and it's like, what can I get? But if it's what can I get, it should also be what can I give.
Yeah, people hardly think about that.
You should actually do the reverse. You should come in saying, what can I give?
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on community love. And yeah, do you have any other thoughts to share?
Just the last point, I think that we're all a part of communities, and it depends on which way you want to view community, but everyone is a part of a community. Even where you live, you're a part of that community. Every action that you make will add or take away from that community. And I think that there should be a lot more love, which I would define as like helping others, being compassionate, being caring, or just simply keeping your space and environment clean. It shows that you love where you are, you have some dignity about where you are, and with that, I think that there should just be more love in the communities and less fear and hatred and jealousy. And if you're in a community like that, I think it might be healthy if you kind of get out that community.
You know what? While we're on community, I did want to. This is kind of opening up another part of the conversation, but I think it's relevant. I just wanted to touch on like professional communities in social media settings. So I'm thinking about,
You
like,
want to do a part two? Because that one is deep.
Let's do a
that
part
could be
two. I think you might have a point.
For real, because
we
I
can do a
can
part
dive
two.
into that real.
Let's do that. Let's put a stamp in it. And
so this is community part
we'll
1.
We'll do a part 2.
Yeah, y'all not gonna be ready for part 2, but that's gonna be community love part 2.
So join us for the next part of community love. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
All right, bye.
Bye.